What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And if you're feeling extra spicy, you can click that join button down below and join the channel. Or go to Patreon, link in the description, and join up there. Just like Heather Bramer did. Thank you so much for your support. It really does mean the world to me, and you know that. And for everyone for taking the time out of your day to be here. I mean, that is just insane, isn't it, really? Thank you so much, and let's crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from Kind Raccoon 1. Am I the arsehole for not going along with being adopted to make everyone happy? I hate to post here because I know there are so many of these, but I really need to hear what you all think. I, 16 female, lost my mum when I was 7. My sister was 2 at the time and my brother was a few months old. Our dad met my stepmum about a year later, started dating her 6 months after they met. It was a thing for a single parent. She had 2 kids who were close in age to my siblings. After they got married, things were fine at first, and then they wanted to adopt each other's kids. Her kids were excited, as were my siblings, but I did not want to be adopted. This wasn't made into a huge deal, but they really quizzed me on why and tried to figure out if they could change my mind. They weren't able to, and I know this really hurt her feelings. Over the years, it was let go. They adopted the other kids and everyone was happy, or so I thought. It seemed like it made them unhappy I said no to the adoption, and my siblings have wondered why I didn't want to be adopted too. I love my stepmum, I get along with her really well, I think she's great, but I don't love her the same as I love my mum or dad. It's different with her. Not bad, just not as close, and that for me was a reason enough to not be adopted. But there's also the fact that I don't want my mum's name erased from everything. I know they're not trying to replace her, but if I'm adopted, her name is no longer the legal name I put down. It doesn't change biology, but it does make my stepmum my mum, and no matter how much I care about her, I just don't want her to be my mum in all official senses of the word. It has come up again because they offered the adoption again, and my answer was the same. My dad decided we need to go to therapy, the 3 of us, and the therapist told them they couldn't therapy me into agreeing. My stepmom said it's not about that for her, she just wants to know what she did wrong and why I'm opposed. My dad said he feels like I'm holding back, and he said there is an unhappiness with the fact I've kept myself on the outside by not becoming a more official part of the family unit. It bothers me, but part of me feels bad that this is something that makes them so unhappy. Am I the arsehole? Now, I personally don't think OP is wrong in this situation. I put it purely down to the fact this is their feelings, this is the way they feel, and if they feel so strongly about this, then absolutely they should do how they feel. They ain't being malicious towards stepmum, they say they love them, they care about them, they just don't want their mum's name erased, and they just don't feel as close to stepmum as they did her biological mum, which I think is fair enough. You know, if she does feel this way, this is absolutely fine, and the therapist said it right too. Sound like a great therapist, by the way. But I also don't see the parents as huge arseholes, very slightly, because they're trying to pressure OP into it. And maybe even more so, but I maybe see their side as like they're trying to come into it and they may be worried that OP is maybe feeling left out of the family unit if they're not adopted too, because the rest of them are all adopted now. So they may be concerned about that. And that's the only way I'm thinking. I mean, if they do keep trying to pressure even more, then definitely the arsehole, because, you know, that's just not on. But Tinkerific says, in quotes, the therapist told them they couldn't therapy me into agreeing, and then says that therapist is awesome, not the arsehole. Then Stoke King says, not the arsehole, no one can dictate what your feelings are. Good for the therapist for saying that. I can see where the stepmom is coming from with her what have I done wrong thing, but she doesn't have to have done anything wrong. You can't really help how you feel. And Catcher says, not the arsehole. Tell your stepmom she's not doing anything wrong except putting pressure on you to be adopted. You don't want to erase your mother from your legal history and family, and ask your dad why you need to replace and erase your biological mother, whom too he presumably loved once, to be fully part of the family. Step-parents and step-siblings are family too. And MM172 says, not the arsehole, I'm glad the therapist is on your side, and I hope you'll use that as encouragement to push back against the assumptions they are making. It's not wrong for you to not want to officially be your stepmom's kids, let alone a judgment on her as a person. It's not wrong for your family unit to be a little unconventional. They can either accept that and meet you where you are, or they can continue to push and work against the very happiness and harmony they think that the adoption will just magically generate. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Unfair Funny. Am I the arsehole for moving out after my sister wanted to triple my rent due to dad cutting me off? My sister is 2 years younger than me. I took a gap year, meaning that I was in my first year of university. She was applying for her own unis and courses. My sister liked the university about 20 minutes away from mine. She missed out on halls and rent in the area is expensive. So dad said if I found a flat that could suit both of us, he would pay half for the overall rent and my sister and I could pay a quarter each. Rent in the area on a 2-bedroom starts around £1,000 per month. So this was a bargain. I found a flat and my sister and I have been living together since September 2019. I'm now finishing up my 3rd year of uni. I've been dating my boyfriend for a year. My boyfriend is a transgender man. I didn't tell dad because he expressed transphobic views previously and it's not his business. My boyfriend is on testosterone, and it's administered via injection. My sister found his kit and questioned us why there was a case containing vials and needles in the flat. We told her the truth, saying that she can't tell dad. Dad rang me a week later, calling my boyfriend a transphobic slur and saying he won't put a roof over a homophobic slur's head. So my sister and I are on our own in paying for the flat. My sister swears she didn't tell him. Frankly, I'm not sure I believe her. I told my sister that I could pay £500 a month, so if she could come up with the other £500, we could continue living here. She says she can't do £500 as she's only budgeted for £250 per month, and that because I'm the one who got us into this, I should be paying £750. I said I can't do £750 and that it's fair that we pay half each. She said that we shouldn't have to pay more because of my issue, and maintained that I should pay £750. Things got worse and worse at the flat, with the rent deadline getting closer and my sister insisting that I should pay £750 and not backing down. As things got worse, I started spending more time at my boyfriend's place. A few days ago, he asked me to move in with him and I agreed. I've already paid £500 of the rent for February and my boyfriend and I found a studio flat within our budget that will let us move in March. My sister and I are renting on a monthly contract, so I have the option to just not renew it. I've told my sister what my plan is and she's furious, says I fucked her over because now she's got less than 3 weeks to sort herself out. She can't afford the full £1,000 per month alone, and dad isn't willing to help her because he's convinced she knew my boyfriend was trans and hid it from him. Even just flat shares in the area start about £600, well over double what she's budgeted. All she can afford right now is petrol for the drive home. Well, over 3 hours away. She says I'm being unfair, selfish and cruel, and that I'm intentionally fucking her over. Am I the arsehole? Info: dad lives over 3 hours away with my mum and other sister. My boyfriend is not openly transgender, and dad has met him and has no idea he was trans before this. Dad has also not entered the flat in months, so he couldn't have snooped around and found the tea on its own. There is a possibility that my sister told our mother or sister, who then told dad, so my sister didn't tell him herself, but was still the source of information. There's no logical scenario that I can come up with where my sister wasn't involved somehow. Yeah, I strongly suspect the sister is involved somehow. The only thing that puts real doubt into that is that your dad isn't willing to help the sister because he was convinced she knew the boyfriend was trans and hid it from him. But like you said, it could have come from your mother or sister, and you know, they not relayed the information that had come from you. But let's face it, your dad is obviously the hugest arsehole, big gaping one in this situation. And your sister does follow in the arsehole genes as well. Expecting you to pay 3/4 of the rent is absolutely ridiculous. If she tried working with you on this, then, you know, you'd still be living there happily. But, you know, she screwed herself in this situation. And Little Flamingo says, maybe she should have kept their mouth shut then. Not the arsehole. She caused the mess, knowing what your dad is like. She still ran and told him. And Embarrassed Strain says, not the arsehole. There is exactly 100% chance your sister told your dad about your boyfriend. She was the only other family member who knew about it. She made her own bed. Let her lie in it. And Octopus God says, not the arsehole, it makes no difference that your dad cut you off or why that happened, and it makes no difference whether she told him or not. Fact is, you've always paid half of the rent each because a third party covered the rest. Now that third party isn't paying, I cannot fathom a reason why the 50-50 arrangement should change. She had a chance to get on board and pay her share. And Just Wondon says, not the arsehole, your sister blabbed to someone. Then she tried to make you pay more of the rent as some kind of trans tax. You had to do what you had to do. And Prairie Mountain Zen says, not the arsehole, my guess is your sister didn't tell your dad directly, since he is angry with her too. But she instead told one of her friends, or maybe your mum, and the news just reached your dad through the gossip grapevine. Being that your boyfriend is still closeted, your sister shouldn't have told anyone at all about this, but still, the biggest arsehole in the story is your hateful, bigoted dad. How sad for both you and your sister. Now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Agreeable River. Would I be the arsehole for calling CPS on my sister because I disagree with how she's raising her daughter? Making a long story short here, the day after Christmas, my 16-year-old niece, Emma, called me sobbing, begging to come live with me. She said her house was a prison and her parents wouldn't let her be happy anymore. We talked for a while and what she told me was confirmed as true by my sister when I talked to her. Emma has always had lopsided grades, with A's in English and history but C's and D's in math and science. This time last year she was diagnosed with ADHD, which I knew because I was diagnosed a few years ago. My sister called me to ask my opinion on how well non-medication treatments worked, since her husband was adamantly opposed to letting Emma take what her doctor prescribed for a fear of her becoming addicted. Medication and intuitive living has always worked best for me, but when I was pregnant with my kids and couldn't take meds, I got by with a recommended ADHD diet, an exercise regime and good routine. It turns out that my brother-in-law has taken that into hyperdrive and gone full prison guard on Emma's life in order to get her grades up. She has a strict routine that only includes school/studying, exercise and family meal times. She is not allowed any contact with friends outside of school and eats a special diet that doesn't include dairy, caffeine or sweets of any kind. Everything distracting has been taken out of her room, including all of her books and beloved paintings by my late mother. Her science and math grades have come to B's, which my brother-in-law insists means the routine is working but still can't be eased up on yet, since she hasn't come to her full potential. The incident that triggered her phone call, she stole her brother's phone while he was sleeping because she's not allowed a phone or unsupervised computer time, was her being banned from celebrating Christmas with the family, since it would be a deviation from her routine. I feel like this has fallen into awful territory and has only gone on so long due to the current craziness. I got my sister on the phone and she broke down crying, saying that she's begged her husband to ease up, but that openly instituting a lighter set of rules or telling Emma to ignore him will absolutely lead to a divorce. She says she's weighed the options, and since her husband would definitely get 50-50 custody of the kids, spurring a divorce to get Emma out of brother-in-law's rules half the time for the next 2.5 years of high school isn't worth the kids being in a broken home and losing their kids half the time, especially with the other two still just 13 and 10. She said she'd work on him, but according to my nephew, my brother-in-law has been even harder on Emma since he found out we talked. I think CPS and the school need to be aware of this, but my dad says it's not against the law to be strict, and my husband says I'll be wasting resources calling them since it's not serious enough for courts to get involved. I just don't know what else to do. I feel like CPS could at least get Emma real treatment. For the question in itself on this story, I'm not sure how CPS works, to be quite honest, and what level of sort of, abuse needs to be there before they will get involved. And I'm not saying they shouldn't, but it just feels like they probably wouldn't in this case just because of the way it is. But at the same time, I personally do see this as more than just a strict parent, and I don't know if I'm thinking too much on that or not, but it certainly feels like it, because he's literally controlling everything about her life, and she almost sounds like a prisoner in her home, right? And that's just the way I'm seeing it. And I might be wrong there, I might be wrong, usually am.
This is true.
So we'll check out some of the comments because they might have a bit more info, especially on the whole CPS thing, which I'm curious about. So Elfitch47 says, not the arsehole, but don't be surprised if CPS doesn't do much. Yeah, this is hyper strict, but I don't know if you can call it abusive. I think you can expect that your niece will flee the house the first moment she gets when she turns 18. And E says, Why would her husband definitely get 50-50 custody? Surely most judges would take the preferences of a 16-year-old teen into account, especially if she was very empathetic that she was miserable with her dad and his awful treatment of her was literally the entire reason for the divorce. I don't think you'd be an arsehole for calling CPS, so not the arsehole. I just doubt it would result in anything changing. Worst case, the family eliminates contact with you. And Captain Spacepants says, not the arsehole, this does feel abusive to me, but I'm unsure CPS can or will do anything. Can Emma talk to a therapist or a guidance counsellor? It may take a third-party non-family intervention by a specialist for your brother-in-law to see what he's doing here is actually harmful. An OP replies saying Emma isn't allowed any outside contact. Maybe I was unclear in this post. My sister said they haven't been able to keep a therapist for her because the two they've had already tried wouldn't let her husband run the sessions, so he fired them. He listens in on all Emma's school calls and takes her laptop back at the end of the school day so he can make sure she's not deviating from her routine and talking to friends. So she has no way to reach out to guidance counsellor or a teacher. That's what really worries me and makes me think a call to CPS is warranted. Being strict is one thing, but keeping a 16-year-old completely isolated, unable to advocate for herself, seems like it rises to that level that a social worker could intervene and potentially force my brother-in-law to ease back somehow. And yeah, after seeing that comment, I definitely see this as abusive. I mean, no contact with the outside at all. That is prison rules, man. And MM172 says, not the arsehole for thinking that urgent intervention is needed, but yeah, unfortunately, I suspect CPS isn't going to be able to do anything, especially if your sister and the rest of the family are prepared to cover for her husband. Your focus likely needs to be on what you can do to make sure that Emma can maintain contact with the outside world, and that she knows she has somewhere to go if need be. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Let me know in the comments below. Now, our next story is from OK Source. Am I the arsehole for pointing out my classmate's business is a scam? One of my classmates, let's call her Jane, has a small business selling phone cases. She sells all kind of phone cases with a lot of different patterns, for example, characters from cartoons. It looks very nice, some of them even get fake gemstones attached on the case. We don't live in a very big country, so such novelty is indeed hard to come by, and as such, a lot of people, especially girls, buy from her, and she makes a lot of money from this. A while back, I discovered this website called Taobao, which is like a Chinese Amazon website. They have a lot of stuff for insanely cheap prices compared to what they normally sell in my country. I've been buying a lot from Taobao, and even with the airmail expenses added on, it is still cheap and only takes about a week to arrive. By chance, I came across this Chinese company selling laptop cases and I found it quite neat, so I clicked on their profile page and boom, I found the exact same case that Jane was selling. Note, these phone cases are quite bespoke in the sense that they are obviously custom designed by that particular company and aren't market-wide use designs. Then I scrolled for a bit and they sell literally every single one of Jane's phone cases. So by now, obviously, I realised that Jane gets her phone cases from this company. The thing is, I calculated the cost of these expenses plus shipping, even by the most expensive shipping standard, express air shipping, which takes about 3 days for it to come from China to my country. She is still making 25% profit, and I know for a fact that she does not use this particular shipping option, because she said it would take up to a month for the product to arrive. So, factoring that in, I roughly calculated that she makes 50% profit from the cases, even more if she orders in bulk. So basically clicks a button and then make 50% profit from the cases. So I shared this website to a group chat and pointed out how Jane's business is a scam. Not before long it had spread around the school, and long story short, Jane's business went bust. Now she's calling me an arsehole, which I don't necessarily agree. I also want to point out that Jane isn't from a poor family and this isn't for her food money. Her family is upper middle class and this is 100% going into her pocket. So Reddit, am I the arsehole? Yes, you're the arsehole in this situation. She's running a business. This is what businesses do. They buy from suppliers and then sell at a higher markup. That is just the way it works. 20 to 50% is their normal range, really. You said that these items are hard to come by in your country, so what she's doing is making it more convenient at a little extra cost, which is perfect, and I love it when people do that sort of thing. You know, you see a lot of these cool gadgets on Alibaba. That's another supply company if you want to look. And you can buy products there from insanely cheap prices, but to get to the UK, they usually take about a month. But loads of people do this reselling stuff, and they do it on Amazon now, so I can pretty much get it the next day. And this just sounds like pure jealousy to me, that you don't like that she's making a little money and running her own little business going on there. Whether it's all legit and stuff, I don't know. But who cares, right? But Private Eye says, so how is this business different than any other business? Where the business buys from a wholesaler and sells at a markup. You're the arsehole. She wasn't doing anything illegal or immoral. Supply and demand. When I was doing the market research stuff, I'm going off on one here again. When I was doing my market research stuff, I remember when I had to go to one of these wholesale places because I was buying Kinder eggs and they all had to be like the same batch code, like I said before, the same date they was made. And I found this place. It was about 300 miles away and I had to drive there to pick them up. And this guy had a pallet load of Kinder eggs and I bought them all. And oh God, it was so hard driving back not eating those. But perhaps a story for another time. If Snakes Could Speak says, wait, sorry, but what's the difference between this and kids buying sweets and drinks cheaply and selling them for more? Also, isn't it obvious that Jane buys phone cases and sells them? She never said she made these cases herself, right? And again, it reminded me when I was really young, talking like super young, and I stole from my parents in this case. I mean, I think I must have been about 8 at the time. And me and my friends, we made an ice cream van out of my skateboard and some cardboard boxes. We sold all the ice poles out of my mum's fridge. I think we only made £2 on it. We was at a big loss there, but we was happy with that £2, I tell you. Until my mum found out. Bad mark. It was a time limited business as well, because as you can imagine, my skateboard wasn't chilled. But Glaxon Flux says, what do you think a business is other than buying things cheap and selling them at a profit? And 461 says, you're the arsehole. How do you think businesses make money? It's called a markup. I think it would have been okay to tell a few of your friends privately, but putting her on blast like that was unnecessary and makes you seem bitter and jealous. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Let me know in the comments below. Now, once again, guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's stories. And if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And if you want to support the channel further, you absolutely can, but no pressure to do so just by clicking that join button below or heading on over to Patreon, link in the description, and joining up there. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Much love, guys. Goodbye.